There are hundreds of ecom gurus out there, each of them claiming they're doing six figures, seven figures, eight figures, but none of them really talk about their products. None of them really talk about their brands. But on our live stream today, we've got an ecom expert, an ecom wizard, who's not only going to be sharing about his, sorry, there was an echo, about his brand, but he's going to be taking us to the factory that makes his products in Vietnam. Welcome everyone to the MMK Show. Mark, Kevin, Ben, how are you guys doing today?
We're good.
All good. Good to be here.
Ben, we are so excited to have you join us on the Vietnam sourcing trip that's happening in April. You were with us on the previous trip last year, and it was a total blast. And we are so excited that you're actually going to be taking us to your factory and showing your products. Like, who does that? And why are you
Yeah.
doing that?
Um, because I can. Because it's fun. And so yeah, it was quite funny how this happened, wasn't it? Last year on the trip, I took a day out to go visit my factory and have some conversations with them. Got back, was talking about it, and I can't remember. One of you guys was just like, "Well, maybe we could go." And I was like, "Yeah, that's a great idea. You should go." So I just phoned my factory again. The next day, a bus load of us turned up, and so obviously this year we're building it into the trip. Um, you know, I want to. I love teaching people and helping them figure out how they can go from idea to successful brand. And part of that is understanding sourcing and manufacturing, obviously. But when you can go to a factory that somebody who's living and breathing it is actually using, it gives you that much deeper insight. You can ask questions of me, you can ask questions of my factory, you can start to understand how the whole process works. And I think it helps people, especially those who maybe haven't sourced overseas before or sourced in Vietnam before, helps them just feel that little bit more at ease about it. Oh, this guy's doing it, and he's literally taking it to his factory. It feels like there's less of a barrier to overcome. I think it feels more legit. It helps people to visualize how they can do the same thing. So yeah, that's why I do it.
Right. Very cool. So, how long have you been sourcing in Vietnam?
A few years now, a couple years. So this brand, it came into existence in terms of an idea in my head probably 3.5 years ago. Um, we've worked, the products that I'm making, and all will be revealed on the trip, by the way, involve
Ooh.
quite technical design. Um, and Vietnam, is the right place for manufacturing these, and so it's involved a long road of technical prototyping with a product designer here in the UK, then in partnership with the guys in Vietnam to turn that into a reality and work through all of those prototypes. So I've been working with these guys now for about 3 years, and the relationships just got stronger and stronger and stronger. And I continue to get more and more excited about manufacturing in Vietnam versus other places like China.
Okay. And what actually led you to go to Vietnam in the first place then? Where did that light bulb come from that I'm going to look for this
Yeah,
product?
it was kind of twofold, two things that kind of combined into one to make it a no-brainer. Um, the technical expertise for the type of product I'm making is in Vietnam, specifically around Ho Chi Minh City. Um, and because of the product that I'm making and the type of product that it is and the perception of the public around that product, I felt incredibly comfortable making it not in China. And I don't want to hate on China. I've manufactured in China before. I'll probably manufacture in China again. But I'm a huge fan in life and business of zigging where everyone else zags. I'm particularly considering my concerns around what's going to happen in the next few years because of the China-Taiwan situation. I have some issues with human rights, what's going on in the west of China. Just not being in China, I think, is a pretty smart move. And you consider, Vietnam is open for business, and what the government's doing there to allow people like us to come manufacture there and have a pretty seamless experience just makes the whole thing really smooth. And so when it turned out that actually Vietnam was technically the right place for my kind of product. I was like, well, this is win. I wanted to manufacture there anyway, and actually it's going to be the best place as well in terms of technical capability. Like I'm not sacrificing. I'm not saying, oh well, they could have done it better in China, but I'm going to go do it in Vietnam for these other reasons. Actually, I get the whole package. They do the best job in Vietnam, and I get to not be in China.
And is your tariff? You wouldn't have a Trump tariff, would you, on that?
No.
No.
Well, there's not, because it's not China.
No, but out of China, there would have been what, 20-30%?
Oh yeah, it would have been bananas. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a big saving as well, like another reason. Like,
Oh,
you know,
absolutely. Yeah.
you're spending $20
Yeah.
on a
And-
product, you're down to, you know,
And I
$12
would-
$14 or something.
Yeah, and I let's not get into politics, but I think that Trump will probably win the next U.S. election. So I don't see the situation with China changing that much. So or improving. So it just makes sense.
Ben, I know we've talked about this before. When we've been talking in previous conversations, and I know you've got a pretty complex type of product, yeah. And obviously you've gone back into a few times to get that product just how you actually want it, right? So when you're conversing with the factory, you actually do your own tech pack, don't you? So you have a tech pack in your design.
Yep.
So you've got a proper tech pack, and you go back and you get the samples. And I believe you've had a couple of samples that because you're not in a fantastic rush to get this product into the market tomorrow, are you? You've got this prototype that you want it to be what you want it to be.
Yeah,
So
basically.
it's been a bit of a long road. Well, not a lot. It's been a bit of time of going back.
I'm playing the hare and the tortoise game, right? So you're right about the tech packs. It's a technical product and not everyone's going to be sourcing this type of product. Some people will be sourcing, handicrafts or products that are made from much more organic feeling materials, whether that's ceramic or stone or glass or seagrass or bamboo, whatever it is. And some people will be manufacturing products out of textiles, plastic, maybe electronics products. There's a whole range. Vietnam does everything, which is great. For what I'm particularly doing with this product, it's very technical. It's not electronic, but it involves very, very specific design. Build the prototype, test it, go back, tweak your tech pack, make a prototype, test it. And part of the reason for that is you can't outmarket a bad product, so you have to get it right. And my experience with Vietnam has been fantastic because I remember in the past with my old brand that I had before I sold it was manufacturing in China and Pakistan. And in China in particular, they were quite often in a rush to get things to market. Whereas the manufacturing partner I've got in Vietnam, they're incredibly patient. I haven't been placing enormous orders with them because we're taking our time to get this absolutely spot on because they see the benefit of playing the long game. And that's really refreshing. And I think that the mindset of Vietnamese manufacturers is a good one. It's quite refreshing.
And what about language? Do you find that there's any issues with communication or language?
No problems whatsoever. There's always somebody who speaks very good English. Quite often, whoever you're dealing with at the factory has probably been educated in the US or UK or Europe or Australia. So, case in point, the guy that I mostly deal with at my manufacturer literally lived in the US for several years, and he speaks better English than I do. So, not a problem, right? And plenty of other people on the team speak English. I simply haven't run into any problems. And if you were working with a factory where you were having language issues, very, very straightforward to find a translator for your trips. And then, of course, when you're dealing with them by email, well, the power of AI now means that we can communicate seamlessly across languages. So it's really not a concern.
So is your factory like proactive? Like, do they come along and suggest things that could be improved as they're working on your product, or are they waiting on you? No.
100%. Yeah, like several tweaks that have happened between prototypes of ours have come from them saying, well, when we were making it, we realized that this did this. And so we thought, well, actually, if we do it this way, then it would be better because it would do that. And I'm like, brilliant. Let's do it. And that is exactly the kind of manufacturer that you want to be working with. And that's exactly the kind of manufacturer that you can find in Vietnam.
So what about, how have you found the quality, Ben, and even the factory, you know, the way the factory is laid out, even visiting, like, you know, looking at the machinery, is it quality machinery that
it's outstanding. So yeah, this particular factory is
laid out, you know what I mean?
Yeah, so this particular factory is quite new. What happened was there's another manufacturer in the same industry, and one of the senior guys there basically went off and set up on his own, and was really keen to work with startups like me. He got a bunch of investment, and he also got money from the government, of course, to help him start up, because that's what they're doing. They're investing in this, which means so many factories in Vietnam have got a lot of things like absolutely top notch. They've got top notch equipment, they've got top notch talent, and that means that as a result, they can make top notch products. So yeah, I was really impressed. I've been to other factories which have seemed quite kind of old, you know, in need of a bit of TLC. But for what I'm doing, they were, you know, really, I was really impressed. And then, you know, there are other factories that aren't like that, but they don't need to be. Like if you're making, like, I don't know, woven baskets made of, you know, natural materials or whatever, then it doesn't need to be extremely high tech. So why waste money on making high tech when what's been working for years has been working?
Yeah.
So
I've always found Vietnamese to be
making.
very expensive too, Ben. You know, like they'll sort of they can make anything out of anything. A bit like, you know, sort of like you know, you look through India, go to factories in India, and you think, wow, you know, look at these guys, what they're doing. But they can make anything out of anything. You know, and they sort of it's not just make do. They've sort of, you know, they've been doing it for so long. It's intuitive for them. You know, they're very clever in sort of making do with things, whereas we would, you know, in our society, unless it's a new material or a new machine, you know, we'd complain. You know what I mean?
You're right, and the way they think is very. They're great problem solvers, which comes back to what Mark was saying about, well, have they been proactive in helping me improve my products? Yeah, they have, because their natural instinct is to solve products and solve problems and make stuff work better. That's what they do. And for many years, kind of, you know, putting manufacturing outside of the equation for a minute, that's what the Vietnamese as a culture had to do, especially as they were like rebuilding the country. It was a case of, well, let's get on with it and make stuff work and make stuff happen. And that mindset is very much part of what it is, I think, to be Vietnamese. And so that then comes through in what they do in the way that they work with us when we're manufacturing there.
Yeah. And I mean, when we were on the trip last year, we visited so many different factories in 3 different cities: Hanoi, Da Nang, Ho Chi Minh. And I mean, you're right. They're, you know, smaller workshop type factories where a lot of work is done by hand. They're artisans, they're women, a lot of women. I was really happy to see that there were so many women in these factories that were working with rattan, bamboo, you know, weaving baskets, rugs, mats, yoga mats, all types of products. And then there were really large high-tech factories, like your factory is very well laid out, really good, you know, equipment, the machines and everything that they had. We also visited a plastic injection factory that was totally fully automated, really gigantic machines and spitting out, you know, thousands and thousands of plastic products every day, similar to something that you would maybe see in China, for example. So there's just so much variety of, you know, factories and products that can be found in Vietnam. So in general, you know, the factories that we visited last year, how did you find their setup and their general conditions? And I mean, you've been to China as well, right? So compared to China, what would you say, you know, factories in Vietnam are like, and where are they in terms of China?
I would say they were very good. They're on a par slash better than in many cases. I think that you have to remember that these places are not, over in the UK, in Europe, in US, you wouldn't find, let's say you're in a factory where it's ladies are weaving baskets. They're gonna be, it's a hot country. It's hot. They're gonna be sitting down on the floor on a comfortable cushion thing, weaving the basket. Why? Because that's traditionally how they do it. That's the best, most comfortable position to be in. But you wouldn't see that in the US or the UK or Europe or Australia, because you'd be like, well, you can't be sitting on the floor. Like, that's not nice. They need to be at a nice table and stuff.
Yeah.
But they wouldn't want to be. Like, that's not how you weave the basket. But as we learned on the trip, because one of the best things about the trip, I thought, was the fact that we had this fantastic Vietnamese guide with us 24/7 for the whole trip, not just taking us places, but teaching us things. And it was fascinating to learn about the state of employment in Vietnam, about the general satisfaction of the population and happiness of the population with the way the country is and the way the country is developing. So you have to consider everything in its context. But generally speaking, you go to these factories, they're basically safe. People are, looked after. They're clean, and they're organized, and they produce great products. So I don't have any concerns from that point of view. Whereas I do have concerns about other places, like, for instance, I own a boxing brand. That's not the one that's manufacturing in Vietnam. And we're looking at developing some apparel. And I just know we're not going to go anywhere near Bangladesh, which is huge for apparel, because I just don't want to take the risk, even if the factory has all the right certifications and audits in place. I'm just mega paranoid about human rights issues. And I know that in Vietnam, 99 times out of 100, it's going to tick all those boxes, and everybody's going to be looked after, and I'll be able to sleep at night.
And I remember one factory we went to, like the floor, and it was making wooden products. So there was obviously a lot of dust and sawdust and shavings, but the floors were clean. And the funniest thing I thought, and I don't know how I'd go working here, every day the ladies had a different coloured sari to wear. And I thought, imagine getting up and getting to work and you're in the wrong colour because you've got the day confused. But I mean, they look after their staff that well. That,
yeah, they do.
They provide a really, beautiful, like they look like they could have gone out to dinner in these uniforms. And then the supervisor had a different colour uniform. And the place was just amazing how clean and neat it was inside. I don't even think you'd find that in Australia. I mean, if it's making wood, there'd be a lot of dust and a lot of, I've been into kitchen places that are making kitchens, and it's never as tidy as where we were.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you contrast, like, what I was saying there about somebody sitting on the floor to weave a traditional basket with, like, the kind of place I'm manufacturing. And there's a photo of this factory on my LinkedIn right now. Extremely high tech, very light, bright, white room, lots of machines, people sitting at desks in a very orderly, organized fashion, because it's an entire flow, the way that the products are developed and moved around the factory. So, that's the kind of thing that you would expect in any high-tech factory. And I think what's reassuring is the fact that if it's good enough for the likes of, brands like Patagonia manufactured in Vietnam, well, Patagonia leads the way with doing things the right way. So if it's good enough for them, we kind of know it's good enough for us. Of course, we have to do our due diligence and only work with factories where we know they're doing the right thing, because we can see them and we can see their certifications, etc. But it's extremely reassuring when brands like Patagonia are working there.
Right. So Arshad Khan is saying, can I say something here? Yes, Arshad, if you have any questions about sourcing in Vietnam, then you can definitely post them in the comments and we will ask Ben. Sorry, Mark, go ahead.
That's all right. Yeah, Ben, last year we actually on the trip visited the Global Sources Fair in Saigon, Ho Chi Minh, whichever we like to call it, and spent a day there. What was your impression of the products? And I mean, there was a lot of clothing, there was handicrafts, there was ceramics. Cool. What did you think of the qualities?
I was really impressed. You know, you would be you'd be looking on, you'd be walking down an aisle looking at kind of handicrafts. You turn the corner and it's all high tech, like robotic vacuum cleaners and all this kind of stuff. So it just shows that there's a huge range of different products being manufactured in Vietnam, which is really exciting. The show was great atmosphere, really busy, really bustling, really fun. And you know, there was a presentation by one of the main global sources leaders there, and one of the things they're talking about was how this is going to develop over the next several years. So it's going to be really exciting to go back this year and see how much it's grown since last year, and then the year after, and the year after, and the year after. Vietnam is it's an exciting place to be manufacturing right now.
So Ben, the whole trip, what was your favorite part of the whole trip?
Oh man, I mean there were a lot of favorite parts.
Oh, that's good.
You know, because there was the touristy stuff that we did, which was just phenomenal. You know, kayaking around Halong Bay, looking at monkeys in the trees, right? Cooking on the deck of the junk boat. You know, having dinner outside in like balconies on top of skyscrapers was phenomenal. But then wandering around the markets was amazing. But then, of course, there's the more serious side. So getting to visit these factories, getting to visit my factory and teach other people. One of the things I loved was, you know, you're on a bus ride for a couple hours between places, and you just kind of turned it into an impromptu learning session where people are talking about their stuff, and we're kind of figuring it all out together collaboratively of how you would market that, or how you would develop this product further, or improve it, or whatever it might be, how you'd negotiate some better payment terms with your factory. And I enjoyed listening to the presentations from the other experts at the at the conference for this event at Global Sources, and then there were presentations even on the junk boat as well. So there were just so many like special moments across the whole trip. Yeah, it was an absolute blast. Oh, and also the river cruise in Ho Chi Minh, that was outstanding.
But like you say though, Ben, when you're on that bus going from point A to point B, or location to location, to be on, because you're there with a lot of people who are like-minded, and you get to sit with different people all the time, and then you get to learn their story, what they're doing, and it's like no one's short of words, are they? No, everyone's got a story. Everyone's got something to. Hey, we're all still learning too. I'd never stop learning, and I'm getting on in that, but I never stop learning.
You're not going to get bored on this trip, and you're certainly going to learn a lot. When you've got somebody, there's such a diverse range of expertise there. When you've got somebody who's got deep legal experience, talking about the legal issues around consumer product brands, and then you've got people talking about sourcing, and you've got me talking about the branding and the marketing, and then you've got everybody on the trip, all their individual experiences that they bring with their businesses and their ideas and their questions. You're not going to get bored. And then what's great is at the end of the day, you unwind, you have dinner, you maybe talk a bit more shop, but also we just get to know each other and become friends, and it's great.
Yeah. So we got a couple of questions. Vipul Chandak is asking, I'm interested to source desks, consoles, TV units for the Australian market. So Vipul, yes, I mean, Vietnam is a fantastic source for furniture, lots of office furniture, living room furniture, bedroom furniture, a lot of wooden types of furniture. In fact, Vietnam is the largest exporter of furniture items, at least, in 2 years, it was even ahead of China. But mostly it's number 2, just behind China, but very, very close to China. And I find that fascinating because, I mean, considering how huge of a market China is and how many factories there are, like thousands and thousands of factories, whereas Vietnam is such a tiny country, but still it matches China in terms of, furniture exports. So there are massive companies. And the good thing is that, there are all types of companies. So if you're looking for maybe if you want to source small quantities, you will be able to find small, mid-sized factories that be able to cater to smaller orders. Or if you're looking to source, in very high volumes, you'll be able to find bigger factories as well that can scale with you. So lots of different options. Well, if you want to get in touch with us, you can email us at info@vietnamsourcingtrip.com, or you can just DM me. I mean, you're watching on LinkedIn, so just send me a message on LinkedIn, and then I will take it from there. Hemant Kumar says hi. Okay, Vipul is also asking, can Vietnam offer Sorrento, which is marble looking? We can find that out for you, Vipul. We have a team of sourcing experts in Vietnam, so we can definitely check that out. So once you message me, we'll discuss this further. Okay, so I just want to also point out and remind everyone that our next trip is coming up in April. The dates are April 17th to the 26th. You can get more information at vietnamsourcingtrip.com. But we're also running a special discount, which is only until January 31st, which is today, but it is January 31st, 11:59 p.m. Pacific time. So you still have about 24 hours to go. And what you need to do is, if you do want to come on this trip, go to our website, get more information, and you can use the code LAUNCH for this super early bird discount. And the trip is designed in a way that it makes it very easy for you to just come on the trip and focus on learning and sourcing and networking and just advancing your business. We take care of all of the logistics. So this is an all-inclusive trip. Once you make the payment, all you need to do is arrive at the airport in Hanoi, and from there we manage everything for you. So the hotels are taken care of, the transportation, we'll have somebody to pick you up at the airport and bring you to the hotel. You get SIM cards in case you don't have international roaming on your phone, with all of the meals, dinners, the sightseeing, the factory visits, the conference. We host a half-day conference where we bring in experts to talk about their experiences sourcing in Vietnam. We bring in freight forwarders, logistics companies, quality control, packaging companies. So we're basically connecting you to all of the different service providers that you need to start sourcing in Vietnam. So this is like almost a package that we're giving you. You know, here are all the service providers, here are the suppliers, here's the knowledge that you need, the resources, learn from other people who've already doing it, who are already sourcing in Vietnam. And at the same time, you know, also experience the culture. Because for all of our trips, you know, we do trips to India as well. We really believe that it's important to experience the culture and understand, you know, the perspectives of the local people in order to do business with them. So our trips always include a little bit of culture too. So we do, you know, an overnight stay in a junk boat on Ha Long Bay. That is now my favorite part of the trip. When Mark told me about it initially, I was like, junk boat? What is a junk boat? But it is not what it sounds like. Yeah, I was like, junk boat.
Amazing.
But it is amazing. And I mean, Ha Long Bay is just so scenic, so picturesque. It is so peaceful and calm. And my best part of the trip was one evening I was just sitting there in my room, and you know, my room had a little balcony as well, and I was just, you know, watching the water, and just, it was so peaceful. It was amazing. So that was my favorite. That is my favorite part of the trip, and I'm just waiting to go back to Ha Long Bay. So there's a bit of you know, culture and experience and leisure as well. Plus, we take you to a trade show. So there's this global sourcing trade show that is held in Ho Chi Minh City. And it is one of the few export-focused trade shows in Vietnam. I think it's the only one. That's what they claim, because there are tons of trade shows that are held in Vietnam focused on different categories, different products. But most of those trade shows are a mix of focus on the domestic market and exports. So if you go to one of these trade shows, of course, you will find manufacturers and exporters, but you'll also find a lot of companies that want to actually sell in the Vietnamese market. So it's a mix of domestic and exports. And but Global Sources Fair, because they focus entirely on exports, all of the companies here are export-focused manufacturers. And in terms of the product variety of on display at Global Sources. There's mostly gift items, home items, fashion products such as apparel, fashion accessories, a lot of packaging suppliers as well. And Marg, I know, was in love with this one packaging company. They had such beautiful boxes, and Marg would always just go back to the booth, and she went back a couple of times. But packaging is very high quality in Vietnam. Plus, we also had some acrylic product suppliers, toys, stuffed plush toys. That's a big category in Vietnam as well. And a lot of companies who were sourcing in China are actually diversifying to Vietnam for stuffed plush toys. There's wooden items, wooden toys, huge factories for wooden toys. Also, what else, Mark? What are the other categories that we saw at the trade show?
Backpacks, leather,
Backpacks,
canvas,
yes.
Footwear, sportswear.
any type of material. Yeah. Well, I suppose there's a lot of handicraft, a lot of things made out of jute, and it's sort of unique to Vietnam would be the jute, the seagrass, the hyacinth grass. So a lot of those are very different products that you're not going to get exactly like in India or in China, because they're very unique, that are manufactured, as Ben said, sitting on the floor in a factory on a cushion. And that, so I think that's a really, and leather bags and things, beautiful, and shoes. Megla and I got shoes made. We got sunglasses made, very cheaply and great quality. The best pair of sunglasses I've ever had.
Megla, there's two internal flights in the package as well, isn't
Yes, exactly. 2 internal flights as well. I mean, we're
go to Da Nang, and you fly into Da Nang, and then Hanoi. You stay in Hanoi too, don't you?
You do
yeah,
Hanoi
absolutely.
Yeah.
We do Hanoi first, then Da Nang, and then Ho Chi Minh City.
And we visit Hoi An as well.
Hanoi is the historic little markets, isn't it?
No, that's Hoi An.
Hoi An, sorry.
In Hoi An, I got a little shirt made for my son, who's now 2, and a little dress made for my daughter, who's now 4. It's such a lovely place. It was so cool to go get stuff made there. You know, you turn up, you say, "This is what I'd like." You go away, you get lunch, you come back, and it's done.
I think I know somebody else who got some clothes. Quite a few people on our trip who got some clothes made, didn't we?
Did, yeah.
Yeah. I got some tops made and leather sandals and glasses. These glasses, in fact. So what I want to do is let me just share screen and quickly go through the itinerary just to give people an idea of what's included on the trip. So you can go to vietnamsourcingtrip.com to get more information, but I'll just quickly go through the trip itinerary here. So we start in Hanoi. Day 1. So arrival day is in Hanoi. So you arrive in Hanoi on April 17th. We pick you up from the airport, take you to the hotel. The second day, we do a conference in the morning. And this is where I mentioned we invite different experts. Ben will be talking about his brand over here. We also have Lynn Sundin coming on the trip for a few days, and she will be talking about her brand. In fact, she works with a lot of the local artisans. And what's interesting is she was with us on the previous trip as well. And she was telling us that she actually visited the homes of these artisans that make her products. So that is such a special, experience. And that's something that you can add to your brand story as well, which is quite interesting. So then we do a few factory visits in Hanoi, and we have dinner and drinks in the evening. On day 3, we check out from the hotel in the morning, and we go to Ha Long Bay. It takes about 4 hours by bus. And these bus journeys are also very productive. We don't waste any time. So, you can sit with one of the experts who are on the trip. I mean, just imagine sitting beside Ben on a bus and just picking his brain. And, Ben has built a 7-figure business. He's exited his business, and he's got so much experience in e-commerce and Amazon and private labels. So just imagine sitting with Ben for, a couple of hours and just picking his brain, how much value that would be. So we go to Ha Long Bay, and once we reach Ha Long Bay, you have the option of going kayaking into the caves. There's also a cooking class, but cooking class is usually done in the evenings. But you can, explore the area around Ha Long Bay. You can you can do kayaking. Then we have some information sessions on the boat So the trip is a really good balance of learning, doing business, and having fun. You'll find that throughout the trip. And then we have dinner in the evening. On day 4, we do factory visits in the morning in Hanoi, and then we fly to Da Nang, and we do networking dinner in the evening. Day 5, we go to Hoi An. So this is the market where you can get clothes made and sunglasses and shoes. And there are a lot of different shops over here, so you can get an idea of what are the types of products that Vietnam really manufactures. You can of course buy stuff. There's a lot of shopping to do as well, but you get an idea of the types of products that Vietnam is really adept at manufacturing. Then we have an information session in the evening and then dinner. Day 6, we do factory visits in the morning, and then we fly to Ho Chi Minh City in the evening. Then we do dinner in the evening. Day 7, April 23rd, we do factory visits. We walk the Bintan markets again for some little shopping. And then we do information sessions to help you prepare for the trade show. The next day, April 24th, we spend at the trade show. And in the evening, we do the Saigon River dinner cruise. On April 25th, we do factory visits all day, and then there's a farewell dinner in the evening. Day 10, which is April 26th, is departure day. So that's the end of Vietnam sourcing trip. But you can also go to Mekong Delta. That's optional. You can extend the trip by a couple of days and do a bit more, exploring in Vietnam around that region if you'd like. So that is the overall itinerary of the trip. I hope that gives people an idea of what all the trip includes, and it includes a lot. Like there's so much happening on the trip. It's just incredible. All right. So if there are any questions, please feel free to type them in the comments. Let us know if you have any questions for Ben. He's been sourcing in Vietnam for quite a few years, building a new brand in Vietnam as well. So a lot of experience sourcing in Vietnam. So Ben, from your perspective, what do you think is the benefit for somebody to come on this trip? Like, how does this really benefit their business and their overall brand?
So the benefit for everyone will be a bit different depending on where they are in their business. So if you have an established business and you are looking to diversify your supply chain, well, straight away, that's the benefit. You're going to diversify your supply chain. You're going to find legit manufacturers, establish relationships with them, and identify quality products. And at the same time, you're going to have a blast on a trip. The speed, it's an acceleration of the way you can build a relationship outside of physically meeting them. Like the benefit of meeting your manufacturer, even before you've even potentially started working with them, over communication online, you just can't put it into words. You will accelerate the rate of progress many times over, but also you will improve the strength of the relationship many times over, and the goodwill on both sides, which means you're much more likely to be able to establish and sustain that relationship, develop better products, get better payment terms, get lower prices. Not only that, but if you haven't started yet, it's so much better seeing in the flesh the opportunities that are there. Whether that means going to a factory that you might end up working with, or whether that means going to the trade show and actually finding these factories there and then and meeting them in person in Vietnam. Either way, you're gonna you're just gonna make so much more progress, better progress, faster. And then that's not to mention everything you're gonna learn on the trip from the experts on the trip and from everybody else who comes on the trip, from all the interaction that we have 24 hours a day, whether that's kind of informally sitting on a bus and talking about these ideas that we have, or whether that's in one of the more formal teaching sessions, on the junk boat or in the conference. So that I can't put my finger on any one benefit. It's just you speak to any serious, experienced entrepreneur and say, "Hey, should I visit the country where I'm going to be manufacturing and meet factories and meet other entrepreneurs?" What do you think they're going to say? They're going to say, "Of course you should. Like, if you're taking this seriously, you're going on the trip. If you're an amateur, then you're just looking on Alibaba." So treat your business with the respect it deserves. Take it seriously and come on a trip like this and at the same time have an absolute blast and make some friends.
And I think Vietnam is rather hard to find products online. There's not a lot on Alibaba, and trying to find websites, they're not updated, or they just might have their details and nothing else. So I think it is a shame that it is so difficult if you don't go to the country to find the products, or to find a decent manufacturer, because you don't know when you're looking, because a lot of it's on yellow pages, and what do you get? Your name and address. Are they $1 million factory, or are they a tin shed?
I'm going to disagree with you slightly, Mark. I'm going to say it's fantastic that it's so difficult to find these manufacturers online, because that builds a moat around your business, which means only you who are taking this seriously and actually traveling to these countries to find these manufacturers, only you're going to find them, and therefore it's a higher barrier to entry. So there's going to be less competition, or your competitors aren't going to find these guys because they can't be bothered doing the work that you're going to do to go and find these manufacturers, develop better products, develop them not in China, strengthen your supply chain, potentially make them cheaper, and sidestep the competition that way. So the fact that you kind of have to go to Vietnam to do this is a benefit. It's an advantage.
And you build better relationships face to face as well. We've
Absolutely
always, even when we've met, even Korea. We were in Hong Kong and we met a Korean manufacturer. Now, online, we would never have spoken to that guy in years, but we saw his products, met him in Hong Kong, and we loved his products. And although he didn't speak that much English, Margaret, did he?
He spoke very little. He had an interpreter, really.
His quality in his staff and the quality of the products he had, and the story, the factory, everything else sold us, and also we met a ton of Indian manufacturers there as well, but without actually going there in the first instance, we wouldn't have met them people, talked to them people, even and when you're talking to them on a phone or you on a Skype or not Skype anymore, but just on a call, you feel more at home, you feel more relaxed because you've actually met them, and so you've broken down a certain barrier. You've probably spent hours with them at the trade show because you've been talking about them, this, that, and the other, and you do build a lot quicker relationship. In my thoughts, anyway.
I literally can't hear you, Gab. I'm having audio issues.
Yeah.
No, I can't hear anyone.
Oh, okay.
Give me 1 sec, guys.
Oh, can you hear me? Yeah, I think you need to change your. What?
Got any more questions, Megla?
No, we haven't got anything else there. No other questions.
I'm not sure what's going on my side, but I've lost audio. I'm going to whisper.
We can hear you.
Yeah. He's let's just give him a couple of minutes to come back. So, guys, let us know if you have any questions about sourcing in Vietnam. And of course, we do our trips to India as well. And Vietnam and India are very different in terms of the products that they manufacture and in terms of, the way to do business. So very different markets. Ben, you're back. Can you hear us?
I'm back. Yeah, I got you. I can hear you.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
Yes, I think.
Ben? Can you hear me loud and clear now?
I got you now, yeah.
Okay.
I got you.
I just seen in the private chat you said I can't hear you, Ken.
Yeah, and I think too, because we have guides and people, Vietnamese sourcing people with us that all can speak the language. If you are walking around some of the booths and they might only have 1 or 2 people that actually speak really good English. Some of the sort of senior people might not be able to converse really well, but we've always got those guides to go along and help you and, sort everything out. So I think that's a big bonus that, 24/7 we've got. And even when you go out for dinner, don't have ice in this restaurant, and, Zen's making sure what we're eating and, what's in the drink and what's in the food. So I think, those things do make it a little bit more relaxed because that you can safely eat wherever we are. And, if he says don't have ice here, hey, don't have ice here, because he knows that we shouldn't be having ice. So I think those things as well.
Yeah, and to put anyone's mind at rest, and I don't mind talking about this. So, I have Crohn's disease. I have to be really careful that I don't get ill, and I feel absolutely fine going to Vietnam. So,
Yeah.
if I can go, basically anyone can go.
Yeah, and the food is so amazing over there. I mean, especially all the rice paper rolls and the noodle soup and how do you pronounce it? Pho?
Oh,
Pho?
yeah,
Pho?
pho soup. Yeah, that's just
Oh,
wonderful.
Yeah,
Pho
it's
soup. Yeah.
yeah.
Because actually, in Megla, one day our guide said, "Look, we're gonna do a local lunch today," and we went to I'd call it a cafe with cartons of soft drink up. So Megla's going, "What are we doing here?" And I said, "We're doing a really local experience." Well, I think it was one of our best meals. It was just
yeah,
really
that was very nice.
different, like just how the locals would eat, and there were locals in with us, and it was really nice to experience that. We had been to Vietnam before and done that, and it is just it's nice going to a restaurant, but when you're just there and there's not a lot of locals around you, it's different. But it's nice to have that real, I'm in Vietnam and this is what they're eating and I'm joining them, and it was fun. That was a lovely lunch that day. You've got to find one of those again.
Absolutely. All right, so I think we're going to wrap up over here. So check out vietnamsourcingtrip.com. Don't forget to use the code LAUNCH. But after Jan 31st, you can use the code BEN for up to $165 off. And, we look forward to seeing you in Vietnam. If you have any questions at all, feel free to reach out to us. You can message me, Margaret, Kevin, Ben, either of us. Find us on Facebook, LinkedIn, we're everywhere. So message us if you have any questions. We'd be happy to chat. If you want to get on a call, we're happy to do that. We can also customize the trip for you. This is something else that we should have mentioned. So if you don't want to spend 10 days in Vietnam, 10 days is a long time commitment and of course a financial commitment as well. But let's say you only want to do the last leg of the trip, which is in Ho Chi Minh City, where we spend about 4 days there. So if you only want to do those 4 days, we have an option of customizing the trip for you, for your requirements. Also, if you're looking for specific products, like we're visiting about 9 to 10 factories overall, and these categories are based on the products that are popular in Vietnam. But if you maybe want to source a particular product that we're actually not visiting a factory of, you can tell us and we can organize factories for you separately. We can organize, maybe a sourcing expert to accompany you to the factory or just arrange transportation for you. We can find and vet the factory for you. So as I mentioned, we have a sourcing team in Vietnam. We're already sourcing products for people over there. So, our team on the ground has a really good understanding of what products are manufactured where. We have a really good network of factories that we've vetted. And as Mark was saying earlier, it's difficult to find factories online in Vietnam. And if you email them, if you do find their website and if you email them, I mean, will they reply to you? No. You have to have somebody local call them up and, just chase them. So that's something that's an advantage that we have because we've got a team in Vietnam who can actually, call these suppliers. So we're happy to do that as well. We can customize the trip as per your requirements.
Or even
Right.
visiting factories, guys. I mean, you don't just pick up the phone and say, "Hey, can I visit your factory?"
We have enough.
No,
That's why you need to go on the trip.
Well, what are you doing today? Can I come and visit your factory? It is.
no way.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Unless you're on the ground there in Vietnam, or unless you're like, a big buyer, big retailer, they're not going to entertain you. So this is a great way, to go as a group to these factories.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. So Ben, we are super excited to be seeing you again in April. Looking forward to the trip. Cool. So anything
wait.
else, Mark and Kevin, before we sign off?
No, I think that's
roll on
it.
spring rolls.
Look forward to it. Just hey folks, just join us, and you won't be disappointed. I'm sure.
I wonder if Ben is coming to the next year trip. So Oksana is actually joining us in India next week, like this Sunday. She'll be here, and she's probably going to do the Vietnam trip in 2025. So Ben,
there.
there's a question for you.
There you go, Ben.
All right, there you go, Oksana.
There you
Going to his
go.
factory.
I'll be on it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I should be there. I don't see why I wouldn't be. But the only way to guarantee that you're going to be on the same trip as me is to come on the 2024 one, right? I don't know what's happening.
I don't know whether it's
Yeah.
that brave. It's a big trip for her already this year, so I don't know whether she's going to do it again.
Ben, I've just put your name down, mate. I've just put your name down.
Oh, for 2025. All right,
25.
No.
And actually,
Cool.
people, anyone listening who thinks that they can't possibly do this year, it will usually be the same date every year because that's when the Global Sources Fair is. So it's not just any time, it's usually the same week each year because of the way that the fair is done on a particular week.
Yeah. And if you miss it this year, you'll have to wait for a whole year because we only do this
Yeah.
once a year. Our India trip is twice, but then Vietnam is just once a year. So, yeah. All right. So thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you so much, Ben, for joining us and sharing your insights. And we will be coming to you live next week from India sourcing trip. It's happening and starting February 4th. So we'll be coming to you live, hopefully from the trade show. Sourcing trip season is starting. Fun days coming ahead.
Thanks for your time today, Ben.
Yeah,
Well,
thanks, Ben.
having me.
Great to
I
catch up,
can't
mate.
wait
All right.
to see you all in person in Vietnam in a few months.
Yeah, it's not that far away,
right.
really.
And
All right.
Ben's a new dad. Tell everyone Ben's just had a newborn. So
Yeah, our third son. So no, our third child, our second son. So I'm gonna have to buy even more gifts while I'm out there.
And he's got a lovely wife who's letting him come away, and she's staying home with 3 young children under 5.
I know,
Yeah, she's a
lots
bit of a
of
legend.
gifts for her.
Yeah,
I
I think
so.
you better get her some gifts this time.
yeah.
Yeah, I think I better. Right, guys, good to talk.
Right. Thanks.